Yes, it's only been 12 months since we last over there. So we stage these evenings just to give you a little bit more each time. So last week we had the year 2 into 3, so you don't get another one, you get a year off, and then you're back here again. So I'm getting that into your heads nice and early, but a bit more then, and as the years get a bit more complex, and then you've got a long break until year 6, because then it's a transition from 6 into 7. So that's fairly, that's the way we planned it. So before we get too far, that's it. Thank you. Look, you're well aware by now that we're a Christian school, and we're obviously Christian in everything we do. But wouldn't it be great? These are the sorts of things that I think we emphasise in the school with the children. So we have daily devotions with them, and we have teaching. But wouldn't the world be a different place? Just cast your eyes down that. We're not going to formally read through the prayer. But if that was our prayer, and that's our prayer as teachers and staff, that we are instruments to be used to bring hope and joy and all those wonderful virtues. And we spend a little time in prayer with kids in the mornings as the day starts. And we set the tone and the culture, just like this does here for us tonight. So again, welcome, and I know that Kath has done that. I'd like to introduce the staff. If they'd like to turn around. Mrs. Kate Mitchell is the Director of Lower Primary Curriculum. Mrs. Kat Bennett, and she's the Year 1 Coordinator. We have some new names for people next year, so we won't rob the thunder for next year. Mrs. Jackie Grodius on Year 1, and Mrs. Lisa Burton, and Ash Quinn. So that's our Year 1 teaching team this year, and some of those are going to be involved in the presentation tonight. So I think that's my job done at the moment, and Ash is going to come. And I'll see you all again a little bit later. Thank you.
Well, it's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and some other not so familiar faces out there. Well, Year 1 is an absolutely incredible year, and we absolutely love teaching it. So some things that you're going to see to our timetable is a little bit different to prep. So one of the biggest things is the pick up and drop off procedure. This means that your child will no longer be directly dropped behind the fence to the teacher or collected directly from them. You can arrive from 8 AM and we encourage you to sit in the uncovered area with your child. We ask that you don't take them to their bag racks or to the classrooms. It just fosters a really important culture of sitting and waiting for a teacher until 8:15. From 8:15 till about 8:25 they can play, and in that time you're free to go. And class starts promptly around 8:25, 8:30. At that point, you can, if your child's late, take them to the office, sign them in, and they're coming back to us. Lower primary runs on a slightly different timetable to the preps. We stagger it so the preps have more of a playtime and able to use our facilities as well. We have crunch break, which is much the same as prep. It's a mini break where the children eat a piece of fruit or vegetable in class to keep them going till 11 AM. This happens in the class and there's no playtime, and it can vary any time between 9:30 and 10:15 AM. Children may have a story read to them or they enjoy show and tell. Work continues after this. Morning tea is at 10:50, and it's a very short break, and we still have Year 1s who are not able to finish their first break food in that time. So we do ask that you pack simple food that they can unwrap themselves. If something needs to be opened, please cut it for them. They get very flustered if they can't do it, and you might notice lunchboxes come home and things like that full. So we do ask that you help them out. There's 10 minutes to eat and then 10 minutes to play. And I'm sure you can imagine 5 and 6-year-olds prefer the play side of things. Lunch is at 12:40, and they have a bit longer to play and eat at this point. The children will be shown the playground areas in the first few days and weeks, so they know where they are to play, but more so where they're not allowed to play. And your children are very lucky because they're going to be the first year ones to enjoy our brand new playground. So I guess we'll all learn the common out of bounds areas that need pointing out in the next few months. But mostly outside the library is an out of bounds area for lower primary, the admin courtyard, parent portico, and anywhere near the high school. So feel free if you're walking around doing extracurricular stuff to point these out to your kids now. We're pretty big on those rules. Home time is 2:50, but we line up around 2:40, 2:45. I'm not sure how you go with getting your kids ready for morning, but 26 children lined up in 2 lines with all of their belongings is actually a difficult task, especially those first few weeks. So we do take a lot of time teaching and coaching and reminding about how to line up who's responsible for whose things. So we will walk them out to you in the parent portico area, and if you're not standing there waiting for them, we walk them to the year 1 pickup, which I think is outside Prep White and Mrs. Sims' class. And that's our year 1 waiting area. So we do coach the kids in saying, if mum and dad aren't here, they will be here. They can get very overwhelmed very quickly if you are not the first person they see when they walk out. I think we still deal with tears at the moment when they don't see you. So it's really important that you start having those conversations with your kids about where you're going to meet. It's okay if we're running late. Once again, that pickup lane's a bit fun at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. So patience is a wonderful thing, and teaching those kids that it's okay just to wait, to be patient. They're always supervised. There's always a friendly face. And the first few months we don't leave them until we know that they're fine. We do have a rule. The big people collect the little people. And it's something we reiterate numerous times throughout the year, especially with all the extracurricular facilities that we do have available now. Year 1s are not to walk themselves to the pool, to tennis, to anywhere that involves the high school or roads. And I'm sure you can understand why we say that. They're so little. Big kids on their phones walking straight past, listening to things, parents on their way. So it's really important that if you do have a sibling picking them up, that they do meet them in the year 1 pickup area, not take themselves somewhere. And we will actually tell the year 1s, no, you cannot leave here. You have to wait. So your help with that would be wonderful. I guess with lots of things that change, there's lots of things that stay the same. So we still have home readers. We still have library. We can still have Velcro shoes, which are wonderful, please. Shoelaces are very hard. We are still learning how to do them now. So if your child's not confident with that, please feel free to use the Velcro. We still have Munch and Crunch. We still love parents in our classrooms. And some other things change. So our formal uniform is introduced. Coloured house shirts are worn for physical literacy. PE uniform is worn once a week. Japanese is introduced, and the kids absolutely love this lesson once a week. They're learning colours, numbers, alphabets, all those types of things. So it's a really fun lesson that they absolutely love every week. There's lots more freedom at lunchtime, so they're no longer behind that fence, which they love. And it's a big scary world out there when you are not protected within a very small space. So there are lots of options outside our year 1 rooms. There is a year 1 play area, which the kids love. There's Lego, there's Play-Doh, there's dress-ups, there's sand, there's dolls, there is so much stuff. So it's an area, especially in the first few months, when that transition from prep to year 1, for them to play, to feel secure, they don't get lost. If their friends are going off somewhere else, it's somewhere for them to go. But there are also lots of other clubs around. So we have art club, colouring club, games club, library club, and the kids absolutely love all of this. And the year 6s take on that leadership role with that. In the first few weeks of year 1, it's an environmental change as well as a developmental change. So we really like to teach the kids all about year 1, how to be successful. So we have a mini unit to talk about the routines and procedures and the building of relationships. They're very important things in year 1, so we like to take the time to teach each of the children what these words mean and how they can learn and know routines and procedures, and how to build and maintain relationships, which is actually very difficult when you disagree. So ultimately during this time we answer the question, what does a Year 1 student need to be successful? The children help us answer this question through lots of different hands-on activities, making backpacks, lots of fun stuff. This unit runs for the first few weeks of term 1 to help the children settle in and get to know their new class, their new teacher and their new surroundings. We continue to build on this understanding through our You Can Do It lessons and our focus on health and wellbeing. Health really focuses on that. And if you have any issues with your child's wellbeing, there's a process with Pastoral Care, which David's now about to explain for us. Yeah.
Okay. So last year you would have received this book. Look familiar? Better nod. So I just want to read the introduction to that because it's creating a positive whole school culture. So we have a range of strategies and programs that are in place to establish and maintain supportive culture and positive learning environment. Direct teaching encourages pro-social behaviour, improves student wellbeing and reinforces student behaviour. Students take pride in their school and surroundings and generally want to comply with the expectations of the school and staff as a result of a strong positive culture. This is accomplished through a lot of these school programs that are outlined in this booklet. I won't go through them all, but they include direct instruction, intervention where necessary, awards and rewards, effective pastoral care structures in the primary school, a strong sense of responsibility and passion expressed by the class teachers who care for and nurture all members of their particular class. Now, I think as a school we've worked hard to develop a reputation for caring for kids. And we do care. And so we create a culture where they grow within that culture. It's not unlike a family culture. Where you have your family culture, we have a school culture. So kids come into that, they imbibe that, they feel it, and they then fit into that and they live it. And you have already felt that from a year at prep. It starts in prep. You can do a program, and the puppets, Penny Persistence and Pete Persistence, Pete and Pelly and Ronnie Resilience, and you can probably tell me all the puppets by now. But we teach the whole child. So it's not just academic; it's everything. And you saw up here the routines and procedures for the day, how they play, their relationships together. So, particularly in the primary school, because of the age the students are at, they need to be nurtured, they need to grow and develop as human beings. They don't come to school with all those social skills already inbuilt. So that's what is important. The classroom teacher then is considered the first point of contact. So if you're concerned or if there's something, then it's the pastoral care teacher, it's the classroom teacher. So that's a big part of their role. That's very different to a secondary school, which is structured differently. So the class teacher has those 28, 26 students for all year. And they've moved in with their housemates. That's the other teachers on their year level. And they work together and they live together for that year with the kids and those set of teachers. It's quite, a very compact unit. So that's the first point of contact. Now we talk about a safety net. That's some of those structures that we've got there that pick up or catch. So it's a bit like the Year 2 net used to be for those that have been around a bit longer, where it sort of catches the students that are failing, academically. But this safety net catches and is a whole set of people plus structures. They're all designed to monitor the students' well-being, monitor their mental health, their pastoral care, all the way through that year and right through primary into secondary. So There's a number of systems that we've got there. So it's firstly the classroom teacher, the primary school chaplain, even your own parent concerns, you might bring them to us, to the teacher or to the counsellor or to the chaplain. We have child protection officers in the college, so they're there, and we just concluded, or we marked day for Daniel on Friday, and we re-showed one of the safety videos at Assembly on Monday, which talked about the whole process of reporting. So you recognise the feelings, you react, and then you report, and it was all around that child safety messages. We have bullying surveys. They start a little bit later, not in year 1. I think they're all right down. From about year 3 on, we have bullying surveys, and they go all the way through the college. All of the staff, the ancillary staff, observe things and they make reports and so on. So, centred around the class teacher initially, but if things accelerate, get a little bit, and there's needs, then there are a team of people beyond that, and that includes the counsellors, the chaplains, so it's the primary chaplain, a primary counsellor, and other members, myself and the assistant to the head of school, and other staff are members of that pastoral care team. So when it gets a bit beyond the classroom teacher, or situations develop, and situations do develop among families and with children, we understand that. There's no shame in that, there's no, it's simply our job. We take on those and we help and we assist. Probably a bit more like a triage, so we take it in and we might assess things, and then sometimes we might make recommendations about professional help that's needed or guidance outside of the school. So we don't take on more than we can cope with. We have trained counsellors, but they really are there to help to diagnose, triage the situation and make recommendations beyond that. So that's the pastoral care, but generally that's a very, very small population of students that get to that particular stage. 95% of students are catered for with our general school structures here, and that's your children. Next. So then, if there are, then, and we won't go into all that, but it's just to indicate that we do have, these are probably for the next 6 years. This is not going to happen tomorrow, early next year, but just to show that we have got, so there's a bit of a mix sometimes between the pastoral care and the disciplinary actions. So that's why Simon Bedville, his apology for tonight, he gets more involved in the disciplinary side of things that may need some corrective behaviour, that aspect, or it might simply be that there needs to be assistance given by the carers, the pastoral care team and counselling also. So they're involved sometimes in meeting needs in particular year levels where a need might develop. A bunch of students aren't getting along, so I'll get those students together, have a bit of a powwow and have a talk with them, run a small program with your permission at lunchtimes and things like that. So it's low level, it's not high intensive counselling, there's no reason, they're not going to be screwing around with their heads and changing their brains or anything. It's just really low level assistance and help that's given to them, but if there is something more serious we think going on, then that's when we'll make recommendations beyond that. So that's our sort of overall pastoral care plan. I would like to mention just one thing that's in the booklet. So if you don't have the booklet, or if you're new, there might be a couple of new parents here this evening, then there's a few copies available here. But merit certificates, maybe not, but there's a system of, they're called awards or head of school awards. So from year 1, it actually operates. So you get 5 merits. So when your child comes home with a merit certificate in year 1, just say, oh, that's lovely. I'll put that away for you somewhere and forget where it went. Because every 5 of those get redeemed for the first level, then the next 5 get redeemed for the next level, and by about 2056 they get to the, no, it's not that long, it's about year 5 or 6 they get to that stage where they can then get to the top, so it's gold. And to achieve gold is their goal, and it's achievable for all students. We make it that way. So we want to reward them for all sorts of things, not just good homework or good assignments or getting 10 out of 10 on their assessments. It's for lots of things: kindness, good manners, gentleness, reaching out to somebody, caring. So teachers are on the lookout all the time to find ways to reward the students in that area, and so keep a hold of those merits. The only weakness in the system is it relies on you to keep hold of them. We don't track every merit that goes out, we do nothing else all day. So hang on to those merits. They bring them, they send them along, they bring them to the admin downstairs here, hand in their 5, and they get presented at assembly. The main school assembly, the big assembly, which is a big deal for them. Lots of clapping on stage, you can come up and take photos. It's a big moment when they step through the levels. So, lots of kids getting, so that's an important one, but please have a look through the other programs and initiatives that are in this booklet, because they'll probably hit the ground more so from year 1 through up to about year 3 and 4. By that stage you'll know just about everything. Okay. I did omit, and my apologies Mr. Barker, but the gentleman sitting up the back, you should know, I'm sure you do, Mr. Barker, but I'll be docked my pay tomorrow because I forgot to introduce him at the beginning. Okay. Thank you. Kate's going to take over now.
Alright, I'm just going through a couple more things that happen in year 1. So, I'm going to be mostly talking to you about what are some of the things that you can do just to help your child get ready for year 1, and maybe talk to them and just check that they know what they're doing. So one of the things that you often find is that we're needing to start to teach them to become a little bit more independent. We don't have full-time teacher aides. They will need to be able to do things like take themselves to the toilet, come back again, find the lining up place, all those things that they need to navigate because they don't have the fence and they're interacting with a whole bunch of other grade levels. So one thing that I'd really love you to do to help your children is to help them to navigate particularly around the formal uniform. So if you think about what they're currently wearing now, everything's very pull on, pull off, not a lot of buttons, it's lots of elastic and things like that. So when they're wearing their formal uniform, we've got buttons and things like that, so they need to know sometimes you don't realise, because particularly if you're helping them dress in the morning, they need to know how to be able to do things like, for example, girls, if they wear a skirt, which is what they wear in their formal uniform, it's actually a zip and then a button. And girls, if they don't understand that there's a piece of elastic at the back, they can just pull their pants down when they go to the toilet. They're sitting there fiddling, desperate to go to the toilet, trying to work out a button and a zip. So make sure you point out to them they don't need to be spending time on the button and the zip. They can just go to the toilet, pulling it up or down, because that reduces the possibility of wet pants and things like that. And we do have a system for dealing with that if that happens in year 1. So don't be worried, but if you think your child might be likely to have problems, just pack a spare pair of undies and a pair of shorts in a little plastic bag in the school bag, and we'll manage that. But if you don't have anything, we have facilities up here to deal with that. The other thing that that boys have to get their heads around is they have to learn how to use a urinal. So in prep, they would normally have toilets, and often at home we've got toilets. So in the boys' toilet, they use a urinal. Now, fathers, you're going to have to help us out with this one. This is above my pay scale, I can't do that. There's a whole thing they have to learn how to do. in terms of aiming, not turning around while and talking to their friends. So I'm just telling you now, based on years of experience of dealing with clean-ups and, accidental problems. So they do need to figure out how to manage the urinal, where they stand, where they go, the whole shebang. So fathers, I'm going to leave that one up to you. And as far as fine motor skills, that's things like just helping them to be able to make sure they can manage the dressing by themselves, things that they're going to need to be able to do without you there. So just have a little think about what they're going to need to be able to manage on their own when they're at school. And that's where things like the Velcro comes in really handy, so they're not doing their shoelaces up every 5 minutes and struggling. Because the reality is a lot of those kids, their fine motor skills in their hands don't develop sufficiently enough until the end of year 1, beginning of year 2 to manage laces really well consistently without taking a long time for them to do. So just check that they know how to manage that. When you buy them a lunchbox, is it easy to take the lid off and put it back on? Do they know how to open the wrappers and things that you pack in for them so that they can manage all of that by themselves? Again, when they're in the undercover area, they'll be sitting with lots and lots of other children, a lot more children than they would normally sit with when they're in prep, and they won't have a teacher aide running around with scissors and opening everything for them and cutting. So think about what you pack for them so that they're able to just manage that on themselves, so they don't get frustrated. Just helps them to feel a little bit more grown up and independent. The children will have some different things to bring on different days, like the baking and homework, and swimming gear in term 4. We will let you know what the days are for you so that you can organise that. We have done fridge magnets in the past where you can just pop it on the fridge, so particularly if you've got multiple kids at this school and they all have library on different days or homework on different days, that can be really useful till you get into the routine of who's supposed to have what. Okay, so we have lots of different ways to communicate here at Genesis. So we'll just quickly run through the main ones, which should be fairly similar to what you're used to in prep. So we do have the ability to make an appointment, to ring the school. Email is really good. You can get on and email your child's teacher directly, rather than trying to work out who in the school you need to talk to. Email us. We try and do a fairly quick turnaround as much as we can. Obviously, due to the nature of lower primary, we're not really teaching at our desks, so we will check during the day. So if you don't get an answer straight away, it's probably because we're off teaching. So sometimes if you're not sure the best way to communicate with us, email is really good for when you just need to give us quick information download. This is happening, just letting you know I'm picking them up at 10:20 today for a dentist appointment, that sort of thing. If you think that there's information that you need to let us know where it might be of a very sensitive nature and you want to discuss that without other teachers around and other parents, and you want that time, then obviously an appointment's the way to go. So just have a think, and we want to be able to give you the time that you deserve and that you need, particularly if you're worried about something in the first term and there's things that you need to talk through and check with us. We want to be able to give you the time that you need. So please make an appointment if you do need to, if you've got something weighing on your mind. Don't forget Parent Lounge. We're truly trying to move a lot of things towards Parent Lounge. If you haven't started using it, please get a login and start. It's the best way to find everything, and we're moving more and more towards using that as a system of communication. So, just talk about the first sort of day and the first couple of weeks. We will ask you to bring all of the books on the first day. Please try and make sure that they're labelled. As you can probably imagine, seems like a lot of books for your child, and then when you times that by 26 children, that's a lot of new books in one spot. So please try and make sure that they're named and that that's nice and clear, not just for us, but also for your kids. If you're thinking that we might say, please go and find your English scrapbook. If they know, oh, this is the one that looks like mine, my name is really easy to read, then that helps a lot. So make sure that name's really nice and clear, because obviously that gives us the opportunity to help them to be more independent, because they can find it by themselves rather than us doing it for them. We generally have on our school book list, we ask for 2 pencil cases. And the reason we do that is we have 1 pencil case that we start the year off with, and the basics go in there to start the year, and then we have a 2nd pencil case that all the spares for the rest of the year go into. That's named with the child's name, and it goes into our cupboard or our file cabinet, whatever system that we have, so that as your child needs things during the year, they can go and find a pencil case and get their supplies. So they're not using community supplies, they're using their own supplies that you provide for them. We do have a book list system which you will be able to order from. Can I just say that if you're not using the book list system, please make sure that you use, particularly with lead pencils and glue sticks, that you do use good quality brands, because we find that if you use the cheap glue sticks, they dry out during the year before they even get used, and they end up going in the bin. And the other, with lead pencils, the leads end up snapping, and same thing, they're unusable. So you really do get what you pay for with the lead pencils and the glue sticks. So if you can try and make sure that you're using good brands for those, then that helps your kid not to get frustrated because things are breaking. The other thing is, it might be tempting to put the school bag away for your child. Please show them where their spot is, and they'll all have a spot with their name where the school bags go. Try and get them to get into the habit of finding their spot and putting the bag away, because that way when it's crunch time or when it's lunchtime, they can come out and they can find where their bag is and they can get their stuff out. Obviously, you know, all the bags look the same and it gets very confusing for them. So we want to start teaching them where the location is, where their bag is, their spot. So that's something that you can really help us with. And obviously having a name tag on your bag is a good idea too, so it helps your child and helps us if we suddenly need to find a bag quickly. The only other thing that I would talk about, I know that Ashley did cover pickup, but one other thing that I would add is, I think it's really good as a parent to make sure in the morning that you have communicated with your child who is picking them up. It's actually it's not just about reducing the anxiety for your child, because kids can get stressed about who's coming to get them, but it's actually a protective behaviour. By what I mean is, many of the child safety programs that you see around will recommend that your child knows who is picking them up, so that if someone says, oh, mum says I can give you a lift home, they know exactly who is allowed to take them home and who is not allowed to take them home. And I think that's a really important habit to get into as parents. And I think it's important for them to know, so that they know when something is okay or when something is not okay, and that they feel confident to say, well, mum didn't tell me, so I'm going to the teacher to tell the teacher. And that's a really important thing, and that means that then it becomes the habit to check with us as to who's taking them home. So have a little think about that. I've even heard of families having code words, or this is the password for picking you up. If they don't know the password, you're not to go with them. So that's another thing to consider. And the only other thing that I would recommend about the first day is obviously say a happy goodbye. You will have had them for a few weeks. You probably will be quite happy to say goodbye. No, I'm sure it's not like that. But what I mean by that is, if for any reason you're feeling anxious, I say this as a parent and as someone who's taught lower primary for a long time. If you are anxious, your child feeds off your level of anxiety. So if you are feeling anxious, you really need to think about how you present that anxiety, because if you're coming across as anxious, they read you and they think there's something to be anxious about. So if you want your child to settle in happy, you need to be happy and excited and be talking about it being a happy and exciting time, which you would know from having dropped them off in prep. But we do find sometimes they've had a big break over the Christmas holidays. They come back, it's like, whoa, we're doing all of this again. And they can go back to being like they were at the beginning of the year. This year, really tired at the end of the day when they started prep. Well, that was a bit of a shock to the system, and it can take them a while to get back into that routine again. So as I said, they will get a little bit tired from that shock of coming back after having a big holiday and they're little. Try not to overschedule, give them some early nights. Celebrate the day with your child. What's something interesting you did today? Okay. What were you working on today? I find that sometimes asking them, what did you do at school today? You tend to get nothing. You don't always get a good response. Sometimes, as a parent, I've rephrased that and said, oh, what's something fun that you did today? Or what did you work on today? And for some reason I get a better answer. I don't know why that is, but sometimes I get a better answer with that. Obviously, if you don't feel like you know what's going on, or you feel like there's some issues, or you're worried about something, do let us know in those first few weeks if you feel like there's any teething problems with settling in, because that we want to obviously get on top of that really quickly, make starting year one a very happy and exciting experience for both you and your child. And we will send you emails every week about what's happening. We generally try and take some photos of things that have been happening in year one, send those home so you can see what we've been up to. It's fairly light and breezy, but we like to keep you informed about what we're up to, and that also helps you to talk about what's happening during the week with your child. And we have a parent afternoon in it's usually week 3 in term 1. I haven't looked at the 2019 calendar, but that tends to be where it is, around the 3rd week of when we start back, and we'll have a parent afternoon when you can come, and that's when you know who your child's teacher is, and you can come to the classroom, and you can ask all those nitty-gritty questions that haven't been sorted out in the first couple of weeks, or things you might be curious about or want to discuss with your child's teacher. So don't forget that that's happening in 2019, around about the 3rd week of term 1. Okay, so just supporting your child over the holidays, just do all the great things that you guys already do. Reading with your child, let your child read to you. Don't forget, it doesn't just have to be your child reading. They learn how to read from listening to you read. They hear expression, they hear tone of voice, fluency. They learn how to look at the pictures and just how to enjoy reading, that it's a fun experience. So don't forget, reading to your child is just as important as them reading to you. You can get them to help. They can write at home, help you with little lists, practice sight words. Please don't grill your kids over the holidays though, don't worry. Sometimes they will go backwards a little bit with their reading over the holidays. It always catches up. So if you find that they start year 1 and the teacher has them a little bit lower than they were at the end of prep, don't freak out. It's completely normal. They always make it up really quickly. No problems there. Okay, that's really normal thing to happen. And that's probably about all the stuff that just do your normal parenting. And we can't wait to meet your kids. And year 1 will be great. Really, that's the main message that I wanted to give you, is not to worry and to communicate. So I hope that was helpful for you.
Okay, thank you again for the job you do as parents. You're a big part of the partnership, and we didn't have such a great parent group that we're doing what you should do as parents, then that assists us, and the roles are very clear. The role of a parent, the role of a teacher. So I have a catchphrase that says your job is to make sure your kid's ready, eager, present them to school, ready, eager for learning. Then we can get on with doing our job. And thank goodness that on the whole, the children here, they do. They come along and they are roaring to go. They are ready for it. And Don't spend all day managing behaviour. I know I went through the pastoral care thing, but you know, very small percentage of kids in this school are troublesome. Very, very small. And it might be your child once in a while as well, but that's life. We recognise, we understand that. There is also a couple of transition sessions planned for prep, and they go across into year 1. Meet the teachers, have a bit of a program there, look at the facilities. So it's similarly, the beginning of prep, you had the transition days, but not as many, and that's all done in our school time, so you don't need to come. But there's a little bit of orientation going on for the kids in the next couple of weeks, I think it is. A couple of sessions for them to get used to coming across into the big school. And they're really eager, waiting to get out from behind that fence and get across there into the big world. So that's all part of, I know you're, but that's part of growing up and getting across there. And they've been delightful. We just love the preps. They just make my day. And you can go out, no, it's all right. Or, hello, Mr. Bedville. Mr. Barker, I get Mr. Barker sometimes too. Hello, Mr. Barker. I think I don't look anything like him. Anyway, if you haven't got one of those booklets, they are here. All of us are available here. We won't hold people up. Did a quick survey tonight about the time of the meeting, and I think the consensus is that this is a good time, 7 o'clock. After dinner, and I checked around with a few. You like 6, 6:30? 7's good. 7's good. The kids organised the dinner, you know. So, yeah, just checking. So we're all here if you've got any further questions. But thank you again for your attendance tonight. And yep, we're looking forward to transition sessions. And next year we'll see you at the information afternoon. So it'll be the next, and launch day, of course, orientation day. Yep, so exciting times ahead. Okay, thank you all. Thank you.